So, welcome to another episode of Roots and Narrative with me, Rada Alwan.
And me, Hawra Al-Milani.
As you well know, unfortunately, we've had Nebet take a step out for a couple of episodes due to her father passing away. And we offer our deepest condolences to her and her whole family.
And I'll hopefully be stepping in for a few episodes to cover Nebet's place. And hopefully we'll have some wonderful guests with us.
Absolutely. And as you guys know, it's so important that you like, share and subscribe to this episode for us to get phenomenal guests like we have today. Today we have Zahra Shah.
Welcome, Zahra. Zahra, you are the founder of Iraqi Innovators, a media company focused on tech and startup news. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And just in case you hear some odd sounds in the background, Zahra has got her beautiful baby boy named after the phenomenal Rada, as many Radas are. But no, we're blessed to have him with us. Oh, and he's given us some sounds. I'm not sure if you're hearing it, but thank you so much for coming in.
Indeed.
Especially during maternity leave. So we really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Truly.
Yeah, he'll be my my mascot in the background. So.
Zahra, let's begin. What made you say yes to coming and joining us today?
So I'm always up for sharing my story and promoting Iraq to everyone I know. I think especially now where it's such a crucial time in the country's development, the more we can promote it, the better, and market it. I guess it's up to the diaspora, especially, to really market and push the fact that Iraq is not what everyone thinks it is. And it's really time to change that view.
Indeed. And Zahra, we all know that you come, or for those who don't know, you are ethnically Pakistani.
Yes.
So talk to us about your relation with Iraq.
Yeah, so I've always had an interest in Iraq, coming from a Shia background. So it's a rite of passage to obviously go on ziyarah and visit multiple neighboring countries and visit as many shrines as possible. I never got the chance to visit Iraq until I moved there. So it was really interesting because...
Wow, you instantly, the first time you went to Iraq was when you moved to Iraq.
Yeah.
So did you manage to visit all 6 shrines in one day, or how did it work for you?
The challenge was, because I was living in Erbil, I didn't have the federal Iraq visa.
Okay.
So I had to go back to the UK, get the visa, then from Erbil I can fly into Baghdad.
Wow, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
So the visa for Erbil is completely different to...
Yeah. So at that time, if you land in Erbil with a British passport, you get 30-day visa on arrival.
Okay.
But you still need to get your federal Iraq visa from an embassy. So
I'm guessing there's no Iraqi embassy in Erbil, which is Iraq.
No, there isn't.
How interesting.
Yeah, it's logistically a bit of a nightmare, because then I have to obviously have a lot of flights to get in. But it was a challenging time, especially when there was a flight ban and the airports were closed in the Kurdish region of Iraq during a bit of kerfuffle between, the governments. And I could only leave by driving through Turkey or flying out via Baghdad. And that was a whole drama there, because when flying out from Baghdad, they were like, well, actually, you don't technically live here legally because we don't recognize your Kurdish residency card.
Oof. I can imagine the number of stories you have on that. But
Yes.
before we get to when you started in Iraq, because I know that's the major part of your work and a big part of your career, which inshallah we'll discuss in the rest of the podcast. But can you take us a little bit back in terms of you grew up in London, right? Should we start with when you had degrees and what you...
Let's go a little bit further back. Let's just a quick, brief understanding of your childhood. Were you mixing with Iraqis? How were you in your early years?
Oh, really going back here.
Yeah. Just a few years.
A few decades. Yeah, so I think, for me, my upbringing was very much rooted in coming from a Shia household. So my dad is the chairman of a Shia mosque in East London and has been running it for over 2 decades now.
MashaAllah.
So a big part of that is the community, and meeting Iranians, Iraqis. I've grown up with Iranians especially, and I've visited Pakistan every year as a kid. My mum would take me on a yearly basis, which was great because I think that's what's made me so appreciative of my culture as an adult now. So yeah, I've with London, it's multicultural, so you grow up with all types of people. But I think as a Shia, you really look for other Shias because you are a minority. So I've always had an interest in traveling as well. And I was coming from a very sheltered family, so my parents wouldn't let me travel anywhere, especially not by myself. And then I guess when I got into my 20s, finally they loosened up a bit, and that's when the door opened and I was like, that's it, I'm traveling as much as I can. Let me go. I'm out of here. So yeah.
Were you looking for work outside London straight away or outside the UK? How did it work?
So my first kind of venture was actually, I know I need to do a master's because I wasn't happy with my current work situation.
What was your degree in?
English and drama.
Okay.
Only brown girl in the drama department.
So were you interested in drama beforehand? Or?
Yeah, so I loved the theatre.
Okay.
I'm a big Shakespeare fan. I loved reading plays, writing plays, and the behind the scenes side of it. But I never wanted to be an actress. So everyone always assumes, you want to go into acting. Yeah. Absolutely not. Although I will say I did do a performance in the theatre.
Tell us about it.
I was a singing and dancing tree.
A singing and dancing tree.
Don't forget the dancing part. Yeah, it was like a Cinderella panto.
West End musical, hey?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
So I can say I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, tick. Not for me.
So the degree did pay off somehow.
Yeah, it finally did come through.
Yes. So you finished your degree in English and drama.
Yes.
Did some work, was it in that space? And then you decided you want to do a master's after that?
So I actually I was working in a startup. At the time, Groupon was the fastest, it still is known as the fastest growing startup in the world. It was going through a crazy acceleration growth phase, and I joined them. Initially, it was like my part-time job at university in customer service. And then when I graduated, I joined their content team. So I was a fact check editor and then content manager.
How long ago was this, if you don't mind asking?
2012, till about 2015.
Oh wow, so quite a few years.
Yeah.
So through university, most of it, or the last couple of years?
It was after I graduated.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a few years. I graduated in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a really eye-opening experience because my first sort of baptism of fire in the work world is this startup going through craziness. Wow. But I loved, the fast pace and how I could get involved in lots of different things and it actually affects the business. So I loved that, but I wasn't a big fan of the whole focus on revenue and, quarterly numbers. It was really just going over my head. And at the time, I also had the chance to do a few internships with the UN. So I thought, actually, I much prefer this. I feel like I'm making an impact.
The UN, that's interesting. How did that come about?
So I have an aunt who works with the UN and she's been a massive role model for me. She was based in The Hague at the time.
Wow.
And everywhere she goes, I'd follow her. So she was in The Hague, I'd go to The Hague. She was in Jordan, I'd go to Jordan.
You have the freedom of travel now, so you're
exactly.
Take me with you.
It's because of her I was able to travel and everyone knew where I was and where I was staying.
Because Auntie's there, I can go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wonderful.
That was my ticket to freedom. So
God bless Auntie.
So alhamdulillah, I think that opened a lot of doors for me and just opened my sort of mind a bit into the public sector and what is on offer there. And so my first internship was the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, which actually came about from the Iran-Iraq war and the huge use of chemical weapons at the time. So I did a lot of research when I was working there, and that's kind of when I really learned a bit more about the history of Iraq. And then I was like, this is amazing. I mean, obviously I'm just a dumb intern and I'm filing or doing things that aren't really making a massive difference. But I could see the potential.
But you're learning a lot.
I'm learning. I could see the potential. I was like, if I'm in a bigger position, this would be amazing, you know, going around the world, making sure everyone's getting rid of their chemical weapons. So that was when I was like, yep, I need to do a master's in international relations. That's the only way in for the UN.
Okay. So you have to have a master's for the UN, or?
Either you have a master's and 5 years of experience, or you have 10 years of experience.
Okay.
Wow.
So it sounds like the right strategic move that you made there.
At the time, yeah. But really, you need to know people. So we'll get into that later. So quit my job at Groupon, moved to the Netherlands, did my master's at the University of Leiden, which was known for international law and international relations.
Okay.
So it was the perfect thing.
How was that language barrier going there? Everyone spoke English?
Everyone pretty much spoke English, except for in the university campus, and everyone, you know, they were English speaking. However, when you sort of go to like the grocery shop, supermarkets, then it's a bit difficult. But the teachers were mostly from the UK, so that worked really well.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
The master's subjects are in English, but the undergraduates subjects are in Dutch.
Okay.
So that worked well.
Yeah.
Worked in your favour.
Yeah. And also what worked in my favour was the low course fees, because we were part of the EU at the time.
Yeah.
We were paying the same fees as a Dutch national. So it was like 2,000 euros for a master's, whereas now you pay 10K.
Wow. So
it all worked out.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
Right place, right time.
100%. And I had a great exposure there to the international relations world, you could say. So I did like a speech at the Peace Palace, the International Court of Justice, when it was the UN's, I think, 60th or 65th birthday. Did a speech totally bashing the UN in front of all the judges. It was great.
Oh, you're good at that.
Wow.
You've done some cool stuff.
By then I realized actually the UN's not for me. It's very dysfunctional. It's not impactful enough, where the resources it has is not equating to the right level of output and effect that it should have on the people it's working with. So there needed to be another way.
And it sounded like that's when that fire was ignited, right? I feel the passion in your voice. You're just like, I've got a mission here and I'm not finding the right way to get it done.
Where did you go next?
So I actually opened a small NGO with some other students, in The Hague.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
It was really cool. We did an event, a different event with the International Court of Justice, and the whole idea was that we were working towards the UN sustainable goals.
So they let you back in?
Sustainable development goals, yes.
So they let you back in?
I think they wanted me to be critical. That's why they picked me, because we had to write an essay to qualify for the speech and win. So I think they were looking for trouble when they picked me.
So they chose the right person.
They did. But it was a really interesting experience, just kind of working in that world, especially in the center of it with The Hague. You know, it's home to International Criminal Court, ICJ, and so many other organizations. But I was still kind of thinking, okay, what's my next move? Because I don't want to stay in the Netherlands. And I was looking for work where I knew I wanted to get into the humanitarian sector, but I wasn't sure how. You know, I couldn't see myself as like a WASH specialist or a GBV specialist. You know, those typical terms that they give the UN staff. And as I was thinking about it, I went to Jordan because my aunt then moved
to Jordan.
Their next trip.
Jordan. So as her true stalker, I followed her there. And she was working with UNRWA, so the UN Reliefs and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. And I was interning there. And I was doing research on employment opportunities for women in Gaza. And that's when I came across Gaza Sky Geeks, and they were in between the whole humanitarian but sort of tech element. So they were running a incubator for startups, an accelerator program, and I was just in awe because I thought, oh wow, this is like the best of both worlds. This is what I've been looking for. So I reached out to them.
What triggered that passion for you?
I think it was the fact that it wasn't the UN. It was like something so different where you're actually focused on employment, and not from a traditional lens of we're going to teach women sewing and baking and then they'll have these home businesses. It was tech businesses, scalable, but specifically in Gaza, knowing that obviously the internet is limited and movement is limited, that the online was the escape and the opportunity. So I was just totally amazed by that. And I came from a background as well where in uni, I was very like part of these pro-Palestine protests and everything. And so my university had a trip to Gaza and I was never allowed to go.
Oh, interesting.
My dad was like, absolutely not. So this was finally my way to also visit and be involved in and make my advocacy more real.
What year was this, Zahra?
This was 2015 to 2016.
So that was a really, really good time to be learning tech skills because it was, you know,
Yeah.
software engineering was the thing to do at the time. It was
Absolutely.
well paid. So it sounds like Gaza Sky Geeks really went in
Yeah.
early, built a scalable opportunity for these youth.
Yeah.
Was it focused on, was it for everyone or was it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone,
specific?
but mainly youth because of the unemployment rate. So it was a very interesting proposition because not only are they supporting tech startups, but then they're training software developers to also work online, get jobs, work remotely. So it was perfect, and I worked with them for about a year and a half.
Whilst you were in Jordan.
Whilst I was in Jordan, yeah. And it was a remote job. So I visited Gaza, but I could do everything remotely. So I was like living the life thinking, yeah, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this work. I'll visit when I need to and travel while I work because I've got this freedom now. I can just...
And I'm with Auntie.
Yeah. Where's Auntie going next? So, yeah, it was great.
So at that point,
So what happened next was I ended up getting married in Jordan to an Iraqi man and moved to Jordan permanently. So it wasn't just, you know, a 2-month trip or a 1-month trip.
What happened to
visiting
the
auntie.
idea of traveling about, Zahra?
That's the thing. Allah was like, hold on, girl.
You found the guy.
Yeah, all of that went out the window. I think I didn't even make one trip.
oh wow, and in Iraqi as well.
Yeah.
Was it just coincidental or?
Totally. It was totally coincidental. We just ended up meeting randomly at a networking event while I was interning at the UN and had lots in common, especially our backgrounds. And I think it was about 6-7 months later we got married.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Thanks. 8 years later.
So you've now met your husband and you're thinking, did he live in Iraq or at the time he was living in Jordan?
Yeah, so he hadn't lived in Iraq since he was about 6 years old.
Okay.
His family had migrated to Jordan in the 90s.
Okay.
And I was trying to find myself a little bit in Jordan because the travels to Gaza and working with Gaza Sky Geeks was amazing. It wasn't as feasible now that I was married and I wanted something a bit more local. I was looking for work in Jordan and then I came across this role in Iraq with Recoded and I thought, oh, this is so perfect for me. And I applied and I didn't think much of it.
What was the role?
It was program manager for a coding bootcamp in Erbil.
Okay.
By this time, you know, I've got this experience with Gaza Sky Geeks and I realized that my interest is really geared towards how can we support conflict-affected countries and communities through tech and entrepreneurship trainings. So Iraq was massively interesting for me because not only was it sort of the religious side of things and that interest, but also, you know, ISIS was still in Mosul at the time.
Okay.
And it was still recovering from obviously previous conflicts. So it seemed like the perfect place for me to apply that experience. And, you know, luckily I did get that job.
How did your husband feel about that?
It was a shock for both of us because we had got married in April and then this was in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you'd have to move to Iraq now for this job.
Super quick. And also it was very much like we need you in within 2 weeks.
Oh wow! So the job role is like done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had just moved from the UK with all my stuff. So I was like, oh, I have to like do all of this again now.
So you managed to unpack, to repack.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
and
gosh.
sell stuff that we had bought in Jordan,
Oh,
and things that we
no.
don't need. You know, it was everything had to happen really quickly. So he was alhamdulillah, like super, super supportive.
How wonderful.
He was up for it. But he, I think other than a visit to Suleymaniya a couple months earlier, he hadn't really been to Iraq.
So since age 6, moving to Jordan, he'd never been to Iraq either, except for a quick trip to Suleymaniya.
Exactly.
So both of you are moving to Iraq
for the first time in theory.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for him as well, it was an interesting experience because, he had lost that sort of connection with the country. But at the same time, he felt like, okay, but I'm going home, And for me, I was just an adventure. I was like, I'm up for anything. I'm up for anything that requires a plane ride. So,
and this time without Auntie.
Yes.
You're finally ready to go alone.
Exactly. So, packed up everything and moved and started my job. And then my husband was looking for work. Within 2 months, he got a job in Basra. So he had to move to Basra.
Opposite ends of the...
So you're in Erbil, right at the north, and he's moved to Basra now.
Yep. And that was really tough because, again, we're still newly married and now we've moved country, but now in different parts of the country. It was...
How far apart were you?
I mean, by plane, it's like a 45-minute ride.
But you've still got the visa issue as well.
Yeah. So I could never really go to Basra. He'd always have to come to Erbil. So it was, it was tough. We did that for 2 years.
I can imagine. It's a big sacrifice to make.
It is. Yeah. It really is.
So Iraq, you're now in Iraq.
Yes.
How was that? How were you welcomed? How was the experience of Iraq? Obviously your husband is Iraqi, but you're still classified as a foreigner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was really lucky that the minute I arrived in Erbil, the taxi driver who was at the airport ended up being my ride or die taxi guy.
Trust you to make friends wherever you go, Zahra.
He is like my Kurdish brother from another mother. So he would take me to work, bring me back. So I always felt safe. And he treated me like family. I'd go to his house for dolma.
If you ate dolma, you're Iraqi.
There you go. So I think that made a huge difference in how welcomed I felt.
Okay.
And having someone who saw me as family, it just made it easier knowing that obviously my only family, my husband, is not with me. But in general, I mean, the Kurdish region, everyone was super friendly, super kind, very much, the same as being in Basra or Baghdad. That hospitality across the country, no matter what your ethnicity is phenomenal. It really makes you feel like you're a part of a bigger family.
That's so lovely to hear.
Yeah.
They're really good. The Iraqis are very good at sense of community.
That's the
building
thing.
Community around.
That's the thing. And just making you feel like you're not a burden, So I really loved that, and I missed that a lot. I think that was the hardest part about moving back to London, was the coldness of people here versus the warmth of the Iraqis. So when I managed to kind of build my own little circle. My friends at work became like family. I made it a point not to be one of those expats that just hang out in expat places and,
Which there are quite a few in Erbil.
There's loads, yeah. And, that's just, you're just kind of creating a bubble for yourself. And then you don't really, how can you claim to help and be involved in the community if you don't actually hang out with anyone from that community?
No, fair enough.
What did your work entail, Zahra, with the program management?
So I was basically running the boot camps from A to Z. So recruitment, designing of the program, running the day-to-day, managing a team, so the trainers, project coordinators. We eventually grew our team to about 12 people across the country. So we even expanded our boot camps to Karakosh, Baghdad. We did like a partnership in Basra. So it was really interesting work because I was finally able to sort of be on the ground and do things there and then, working with the people directly rather than remotely. It was a really immersive experience.
For the listeners who don't know what a boot camp is, Zahra, can you give us a little bit of a description of what it's about and how it's run and what the purpose of it really is?
Yeah, so the boot camp is a coding boot camp is designed to train people in a very short amount of time, usually about 5 to 6 months, in a coding language, so that they can then actually have the skills to develop websites, apps, whatever you're covered in the curriculum. So in our case, we were doing Android apps. And so by the end of the program, all the students were able to develop their own Android apps.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was amazing because we were really filling a gap at the time. You know, the education system had a lot of computer science graduates, women and men, but a lot of them came out with no coding skills. So all theoretical or memorization. And that was a massive gap with the job market because companies need developers. Experience. Yeah, they need people who can actually code. So we really helped with that, and had over 100 students, if not more, who actually completed that course.
Amazing.
Was that for every boot camp, or about 100, or?
Oh no, every boot camp was about 30.
Okay.
Yeah, because you want to give a sort of unique experience to each person. If you have too many people, you can't do a good job.
No, fair enough. I mean, I think that's one of the experiences that I've learned, not only in Iraq but also like in East Africa, which I've recently been to, that they do a lot of theory work but no actual meat off the bones experience on the floor, get some, but it's just they want to have experience, but nobody gives them an opportunity. They're like, oh, you've got to have 5 years experience before you can join us. And it's like, how do I get the experience if you don't? Yeah, it's that cycle, unfortunately, in those regions of not having experience. But it's good to see this was an NGO that was doing this.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think at that time NGOs were trying to fill the gap of the education system and the government in a lot of different areas. But now you are coming to a point where actually NGOs are being removed or pushed out, and because the government is like, we've got this now. Obviously the country is scaling, and I think that's a good thing, to be honest.
So we've had a little interruption by Rada, and he's joining us on screen, so it's lovely to have him. Hello, Rada. Hello.
I think we want to hear his opinion as well. Right?
So you were just telling us about Iraq and NGOs. They've just been faded out, and you're now thinking, what are you going to do next, right?
Yeah, I mean, so while I was in Iraq, I realized, there's so many interesting stories and people that are not really being covered in the local media, let alone the international media. And we had launched the first tech accelerator program in Erbil, and we were working with some phenomenal companies that were, like the Deliveroo of Erbil or the Amazon of Mosul. And I was like, why are not people covering this and shouting out about it? Because each city you do business in Iraq is very different. So if you want to expand, you need like a whole different game plan depending on the city you're in. So the fact that they're doing well in their cities, especially like in Mosul, which ISIS was just removed, and people are running businesses, there wasn't enough coverage of that, and that was frustrating for me, coming from a content background, knowing the power of writing.
And being on the ground and seeing the impact of this work in and of itself, and how Iraq's growing through these tech startups. So that it's something that really needed to be shared, right?
Absolutely. And so I started it out just by writing a blog and promoting what I was seeing. And seeing how it was received by people. Was it of interest? Are there enough people that care about this stuff? So it started off out on Medium, and then we launched a website, and we were writing articles every 2 weeks, highlighting different entrepreneurs, different people, stories, and it ended up, growing from there. And so I've been running that with my co-founder Amara for over 5 years, 6 years now.
And this is your startup, this is your media company, Iraqi Innovators, right?
That's right, yeah.
I mean, I guess what you've started 5 years ago is what we're sort of doing with the podcast here, is giving people a platform for us to promote them and advertise them. And you started this off just from the goodness of your own heart, because you saw a gap in the market, to try and give people that platform.
I mean, I think there's still so much more work to be done in this area, but it's something. You know, we've had our articles cited by PhD students. We've had bigger media companies use us as a source. So it just goes to show how little information there is out there. But finally now I can see that it's growing, and Iraq is getting more coverage from these bigger media outlets as well.
So Zahra, I remember at one point, right at the start of Iraqi Innovators, you were also working with Iraqi designers as well, because you noticed that all the skill and talent that was there, and it also wasn't being shared. So it wasn't only the stories and the programs and the startups that weren't being shared with the world, but you noticed the creative side as well wasn't being covered. So can you tell us a little bit about that part of the design work that you did with Iraqi Innovators as well?
For sure, yeah. I mean, it was very, we came across a lot of Iraqi designers who had such cool, pop art and sort of modernistic designs that also reflected Iraqi culture. So you've got like shakumaku and all these things, and I was like, oh, this would sell really well in the UK, or at least appeal to the diaspora here, who, you'd have to go to Baghdad and go to like the local brands to get this kind of stuff. So we did try it out on the website, and we had a store for a while where we were working with designers, getting their beautiful designs on T-shirts, mugs, all sorts, and then they'd get a cut of the revenue, and it worked well for a while because they also saw the opportunity that, okay, we can get our designs out there, in different countries, and it was really interesting. And I can see a lot of other people trying to do it as well. It's quite difficult because there's a lot of coordination. But it was our way of showing that, okay, we've got the tech and startup side, but this is also like another artistic element. Other people were also working with designers and bringing their designs and their merchandise around the UK. So we thought, actually, if they're able to focus on this, because we're doing too much now, we're kind of branching out on too many things, we can take a step back and focus on the content side, because that's where we were seeing most promise.
Question for you. What did you learn from that?
I think I learned mainly not to try and put your fingers in too many pies when you're trying to run a business. It's very appealing to think, oh, I've got to, diversify my revenue and do all these like find new ways. But really should focus on one thing and make that good.
And I noticed this pattern, Zahra, like when you see someone is in need of help, or there's an opportunity where you feel like you can help and you can support, and you've got the platform or the network to help them, you really want to go all out and do that. So
yeah, I think it's been a great way to connect people, especially diaspora. I get so many requests from Iraqis all over the world being like, tell us more, and how are you involved in this? And I think it always shocks them that I'm Pakistani, because they always assume I'm Iraqi, but like a questionable surname, right?
Well, you are al-Iraqi, so I've said that before. Now you're Khalat al-Iraqi as well. Like, Khala, come save us and connect us.
So, we're talking about Iraq now. What's your favorite Iraqi dish?
Oh, definitely dolma. Yeah, definitely.
That was a cheap
dolma.
question.
I know. It's just like, I thought the answer is going to be maybe a bit more complicated. She's going to go out with parche
like
or something.
Or something.
Oh, mazghouf, yes, that too, actually. Forgot about mazghouf. I always used to have it when I went to Basra, because that's the best one.
Yeah.
And I'm a massive fish fan. So mazghouf and dolma, top two for sure.
I'm not going to say which is the best city, but which one did you enjoy more?
I have to say I've enjoyed Baghdad the most.
Okay.
It's got so much personality, It's just so you've got all types of people there, and the people there as well are a bit different. City by city, everyone differs, even in the UK and same in Iraq. Baghdadis are very, like, I guess, open, very quirky, they're really up for like new things. And you've got your groups, you've got your hipsters, you've got your bikers with tattoos, you've got, so many different people that you can just mesh with. And they all have their hangout spots too, so you know where to go if you want to meet new people.
Well, you know where to go, so I've always asked you for recommendations of where to go.
Yeah, it's really like great that in Baghdad you can go to a coffee shop and you'll make 5 friends.
Yeah, Iraqis are very friendly. Zahra, so you focused on content from there, and I know that you also wanted to pass that skill on to others. So you noticed there was a gap in the market when it came to copywriting and opportunity as well. So can you tell us a little bit about the work that you did in that space through Iraqi Innovators as well?
Yeah, so we really struggled sometimes with finding local writers to write for the blog, because I was writing all the time, and then I needed to free up my time and scale a little bit. But we really struggled to find good writers who understood things like search engine optimization and keywords and things like that. So we launched our own copywriting program, and we were training people who had a passion for writing. We were training them to learning how to write sales pages, website content, blog posts, search engine optimization, basically a bunch of things that if you wanted to work as a copywriter, you'd need to know. So we covered all that in the curriculum, and we trained such a diverse group of people, from doctors and dentists.
Wow.
Yeah, to even computer science graduates. People came from very I guess academic backgrounds, but had that passion for writing, whether it was through poetry or wanting to start their own blog to merge, their love for dentistry with their love for writing. So we had trained about 130 people in digital copywriting.
Wonderful.
And now when I see where they are, I mean, so many of them have been able to get jobs, not just with startups or local companies, but with companies abroad and working remotely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's one of the best things about copywriting is you don't have to be going to an office every day. You can do it online.
Very similar to the work that you were doing with the tech boot camps as well, like looking after or providing opportunities for people who are at home and they want to be in their same city and same, want to work from home and get opportunities abroad. So absolutely. I love that that's been like quite a consistent theme with you.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting to follow. I'm aware of some of the graduates from these courses, and it's been really interesting to follow their journeys on LinkedIn and seeing how successful they are, mashallah, in copywriting right now. Like they've taken it as a career and a role, and working with huge organizations like, some of them are working with the UN, taking people back to the UN.
Damn it.
So, she's like, I taught you a skill.
I taught you better than this.
Maybe that's something you should have added in your curriculum.
Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful to even be a part of one person's story and career trajectory, because I think it was like a massive lost opportunity. The creative sector is not encouraged so much in Iraq. Everyone's got to go into engineering or medical, and there's so many creative people that just don't get the chance to utilize that skill. So I'm glad to be a part of it in some way.
Yeah, the education system in Iraq is a bit of a different beast of how, from the sophomore studies, as they say, from year 6, it's like you are allocated a route of studying, and it's just hearing those conversations from the locals and how they go down avenues because it's what they're destined to do, and not being able to choose. I think that's one of the topics that has come up time and time again with Iraqis. Now for yourself, it's how you're now 2 years into being in Iraq. You've created this, you've done this, and you're thinking, how can you grow it? What can you do different? And how many more Iraqis do you want to help?
I think, at that time, so I had ended up leaving my job at Recoded, joining my husband in Basra.
Okay.
And, it was 2 years into us living apart, and I just had enough, and he had enough.
Rightly so.
We were like, there must be a better way. So I managed to move to Basra and work in an oil and gas company, and so we lived in a compound together in the middle of the desert, about 45-minute drive away from Basra city. And we did that for about 6 months. During that 6 months, I was growing Iraqi Innovators and building the website and everything.
Amazing.
And then I kind of always said to myself, okay, we want to move to the UK, we want to establish our roots a bit better, and I wanted my husband to kind of see where I've grown up and what my upbringing's been like. But I always had this plan that I'm going to come back to Iraq, and so I wanted to maintain Iraqi Innovators so that there was something to come back to and I could further grow it. Obviously now we're like 5.5 years later, and I don't know yet what the plan is and when I would move back to Iraq. But obviously it's something that it's a place we're going to go very regularly, especially for our kids.
But you're still, Iraqi Innovators is still growing. I think the first time I saw you was at the Taqat event.
Ah, yes.
So you were there, you were hosting a panel of innovators and technology specialists, and we had several people, like I think it was
we had Mohsin from 1001.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then EQIQ.
Yes, they were at the event.
Haider Hakim.
Mohammed
Hakim, that's it. And then we had a few people, and I was fascinated by the technology that was out in Iraq and what they're doing and how they're creating all of these things together. And then I saw somebody called Zahra Shah hosting, chairing this, and I was like, how does a Shah get involved?
Probably everyone's question with a questionable surname.
It's just like, why is there maybe she looks Iraqi, but maybe her husband's Pakistani or something along those lines. It turns out to be the other way around.
Yeah. There was always this running joke with friends when we were in Basra. There was the protests at the time, and everyone was like, listen, you need to stay home because you would make the perfect spy.
Oh no.
Like, you look like us, but you're not. You've got a British accent. If you open your mouth, you're going to get us all into trouble.
You do speak Iraqi though, Zahra.
Oh, do I? Enough to get by.
You've got quite a few stories to tell there. Can you
Yes.
tell us one that you're willing to share on air?
Sure. So this is my top 3. I mentioned that there was so the airports in the north of Iraq were closed during a bit of a conflict between the KRG government and the Iraqi government. And I was stuck because the only way for me out of Erbil was either through driving through Turkey, which I didn't want to do, or flying out through Baghdad. There was a risk in flying out from Baghdad because they don't really accept your Kurdish residency. As far as they're concerned, you're overstaying your visa and you've got to pay a fine for every day you've overstayed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a massive risk. But then a minister came out with a statement and said, no one's got to pay anything and you can leave. So we were like, okay, let's see what happens. My husband had gone to Jordan and I was going to meet him there. So I flew from Erbil to Baghdad. And the people at the airport were checking all my papers and everything. And I had printed out that statement from the minister. And I was like, listen, I'm not paying any fines. I can leave. There's no problem. With I was very like early days in my Iraqi Arabic learning journey. And they were like, well, your husband's name is on your visa. You can't travel without him. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, this is the first time I'm hearing of this. And it surely can't be true. And I was getting anxiety because I was like, I'm meant to go and meet him in Jordan. So he's waiting for me. So I call him up to reason with these guys because my Arabic's not great. And I was like, Zawjti, bil Ordan, I need to go.
Like, there's another reason to not let her out.
And they were looking at me really confused. And I was like, what's the problem? And I was just like really, irate at this point. And I was like, Zawjti bil Ordan, ani rah. Ordan, and
Like, get me out there. Talk to Zawjti.
And my husband's on the phone hearing all this, and I'm like, Mohammed, speak to them. And he's like, you keep calling me your wife.
I think that's why they're not talking to me. We've got a problem here.
I was like, oh, so wait, which one's husband?
So we're dealing with a whole other set of problems.
Whole different conversation there.
Exactly. They were just like, let this crazy girl through. She doesn't know what she's doing. So yeah, I did manage to make it. He had a conversation with them, calmed them down a bit, told them, I'm a bit of an idiot. and then
I'm sure he didn't say that.
No, he didn't. But he did say that my Arabic is not very good.
No, like, let her go. Let's just feel sorry for her right now.
Yeah, I was just really like worried that what if he has to fly into Baghdad and then take me by the hand to Jordan.
Wow. I guess you must have had multiple experiences just sort of navigating through the Iraqi I wouldn't say political, but I think it's more processes.
Yeah, it is. It has been. There have been a few tough moments where some processes you just find out because you know people and they'll just tell you on the spot, and you're like, oh, like the first time I went to Baghdad and I had a visa that was issued by an NGO in Baghdad. That meant when I arrived in Baghdad, I had to like go to the police station or some sort of office and get the visa stamped before I could leave. And I had a flight to catch that day, and I just found out about this. And like I was just running around like a headless chicken, going crazy. I had a lawyer with me to help me, and they were like, they're not going to be able to do anything for another 3 days. So I was stuck in Baghdad for the weekend, had to reschedule my flight. But it was a good opportunity. I did a 1-day ziyarah, so went from Baghdad to Najaf, Karbala, and then came back. But it's just things like that that just get sprung on you because there's no sort of central place to find this information.
Yet you're still very excited and willing to go back to Iraq.
I think you just figure it out and you learn. And I think what makes it easy is that you've got people around that will help you. So, you know, the fact that I was able to get help from that NGO and a lawyer came with me to that office and tried to reason with them, and it just makes it easier. Especially when you don't know the language fully and you can't have these complicated conversations.
So where is Iraqi Innovators going next?
I have come to a kind of standstill with it now, only because since Radha has joined the party, I've learnt now that I actually need to slow down, and I'm coming into this phase of my life where, you know, I've got 2 kids. I want Iraqi Innovators to grow further, but it requires me to either be based in Iraq or travel a lot. And you know, with Iraq, if you want something to grow, if you're running a business, you need to be there.
Yeah,
of course.
You need to be on the ground.
So yeah, I think the next phase for Iraqi Innovators is that we want it to go into the hands of someone that understands the mission, that can move it forward, and it's ideally based in Iraq. Meanwhile, I still want to be involved in Iraq, probably more through like sort of freelance or consultancy work, but with flexibility, because now as a mother of 2, it's a whole different ball game. Everyone said that having a second child is more than double the work, and it's so true.
Talking about you, Radha.
Yeah, but it's very much, you know, I think my duty as well is to make sure that my kids grow up with a strong sense of identity. Now with varying sort of, you know, Pakistani, Iraqi, British, there's a lot going on. I want to make sure that they have the right exposure and that there is an Iraq that is capable for them to go back to and contribute to when they're older.
First of all, I want to say a big thank you for joining us.
Truly.
Because obviously coming in with a young baby has been a challenge. He's kept us busy on this podcast, and I know we've come in and out of shots and screens, and so for everyone, it's a humongous thank you.
Thank you, Mama.
I don't know how to thank you enough. You know, you've done phenomenally.
Thanks for having us.
No, I mean, we haven't ended. Still got a few more bits. I just wanted, because obviously the baby's now moved from one side to another. I just want the audience to know the Radha's moved from one side to the other. So I just want the audience to know that, you know, we are jumping in and out of scenes, and it's to thank you for the hard work that you're doing through this, and we really do appreciate it for joining us.
I appreciate you making this a baby-friendly space.
Thank you, truly.
So we normally end the podcast by asking our guests the last person's question, and then you've got to think of a question to ask the next guest.
Okay.
So the question that was left for you, Zahra, is what does Iraq have to offer that people might not know about?
You know what? I would say it's the hiking.
Hiking?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I would say in the north of Iraq is where all the hiking spots are. I'm sure there's loads in the south, but I haven't been. I've been to, you know, waterfalls in the most awkward spots. I've been to like caves, huge caves. and up the mountains in Shaklawa. So I think that's a side of Iraq that people don't get to see much of.
You must have some awesome photos as well.
Yes, I'll dig them up.
Wow.
But yeah, there's some really cool places that if you're interested in that, it's unlimited places you can hike.
That's so lovely to hear.
Yeah.
What's the question that you'd like to leave for the next guest?
Who is your favorite Iraqi?
Interesting. In
Awesome
what sense?
question.
Who's your favorite person? That's
Okay, I'm going to throw
Yeah.
that right back at you. Who is your favorite Iraqi?
my husband.
Yeah, the right answer.
I have to see that. I'm joking.
That is a brilliant question. Thank you, Zahra.
Zahra, thank you so much again, because the story that you've gone through, I mean, you didn't at any point imagine your earlier life that you were going to end up in Iraq.
Never.
Or even start working with innovators or NGOs initially, you know, especially with the degree that you initially started off with. Your story has just been phenomenal, but it's a story of inspiration. You know, the grit and the diversity and the fact that you had passions and you followed your dream.
No, I appreciate that. You know what? It's a testament to people in Iraq who were willing to accept me and treat me like family. I wouldn't have survived as long as I did without my husband as well, if it wasn't for how warm, kind and welcoming people are. And the spirit of collaboration to work together on some of the issues we were working on.
And thank you, Zahra. And, you know, your journey has been personally very inspiring for me as well. I've known you for a few years now, and every time you've taken the next step, it's been a leap of faith, and you looking at different gaps that you can fill and really always working with your heart and soul. And that's just been really, really fun to watch and really interesting to watch. So thank you for all the brilliant work that you do. And inshallah, wishing you all the very best on the next steps, and especially joining us today with little Rada. Like, that's a huge sacrifice. You've given us your time, you've given us his time. So thank you. Honestly, it means a lot to us for you joining here today to share your story.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with the future, and hopefully we'll meet next in Iraq.
Yes,
Ooh,
that'd be amazing.
Inshallah. Eating
Inshallah.
dolma and mazgoof.
Yum.
As you guys know, it's so important that you like, share and subscribe to this episode for us to get phenomenal guests like we have today. Today we have Zahra Shah.